On October 25th, 2022, we're going to be having a really significant and potent astrological event. It's going to be none other than the solar eclipse in Scorpio. So, a solar eclipse isn't just any new moon. Let's think back to January 18th of this year. The lunar nodes, so the south node of the moon and the north node of the moon, transitioned from the south node being in Sagittarius and the north node being in Gemini to then, because they move retrograde, the south node moved into Scorpio, the north node moved into Taurus, and that's where it is now. And it's going to be that way until July of 2023, when the nodes move into Aries and Libra, the south node being in Libra and the north node being in Aries. And so wherever the nodes are, that's where the eclipses occur. So this year so far, we've had a solar eclipse in Taurus on April 30th. We had a lunar eclipse on May 16th of this year. The sun was in Taurus, opposite the moon in Scorpio. So that was a full moon. So solar eclipses are when the sun and moon are. The sun and the moon are in the same sign. That's a solar eclipse. Then a lunar eclipse is when the sun and the moon are in opposite signs. So we've had that on the 16th. The sun was in Taurus and the moon was in Scorpio. Now, eclipse season is starting once again, and the sun and the moon are going to conjunct in Scorpio. So they're coming together. They're going to do this at 2 degrees of Scorpio. So this is not only a solar eclipse, but it's also a partial solar eclipse. I pulled up this page on a website that will explain and clarify what a partial solar eclipse is. This is what it says. Partial solar eclipses happen when the moon comes between the sun and Earth, but the moon only partially covers the sun's disk. During a partial solar eclipse, the moon, the sun, and Earth don't align in a perfectly straight line, and the moon casts only the outer part of its shadow, the penumbra, if I'm pronouncing that correctly, on Earth. From our perspective, this looks like the moon has taken a bite out of the sun. Sometimes the moon covers only a tiny part of the sun's disk. So, it's not like the whole wide world, the whole entire world is going to be experiencing a blackout. The moon's only covering part of the sun, not all of it. Eclipses occur in certain places, at certain places, in certain regions, and can be visible to us at certain times. The solar eclipse will occur at 5:51 a.m. Central Time, 6:51 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. The sun and the moon are going to be conjuncting exactly, at this time, or, wherever time zone that you live by or live on, you can certainly convert that to your own time zone of when this eclipse is going to be happening at the exact minute, at the exact time that it does. Now, the other thing is that it's not just this time. It's not just, pinpointed and just limited into a certain, into just one time. It's really all around. The day of the eclipse and, the days before or after. The day after, on the 26th of October, a couple days after, a couple days before, you're going to really be feeling the energies of this eclipse. And, we're already into eclipse season. And so, slowly but surely, the moon will wane until this eclipse. And, then it will continue, that energy will continue for some time, and then it will start to wax and gear up for the lunar eclipse on November 8th. But so the energies, hang out a long time. You can, they can be felt, several days before or after the eclipse. Maybe a little more than just several days before or after. But so anyway, that's that. So now let's get into this. Scorpio deals with the deep and the dark. What is hidden? What is the undercurrent? What is below the surface? If you think about the water, if you're going in the ocean, you can see the surface. It's beautiful. It's majestic. You go on a boat or you go on a canoe and, wherever, and you just, view the water as just sparkling and shimmering. But, that's the symbol. That's why this is so important, because it may look so beautiful and so inviting, but we only see just that level of it. If you go below the waters, it's deep, it's dark, and it deals with shadow work. What have you put aside? What have you resisted? And, you haven't integrated in order to evolve and grow and find true healing, true peace, true feelings of happiness and gratitude and bliss. You kind of need to go down there. You kind of need to, at one point or another, face the shadow and feel those feelings. So the parts of you that you don't like, that you're ashamed of, that you're disappointed by, that bring you down. Feelings may come about of sorrow and grief and depression and loneliness, of darkness and gloominess and negativity. Just this down in the dumps type of feeling. And then that calls for spiritual practices, self-care, such as meditation, journaling, so many other things, just getting outside in nature, seeing the beauty that it has to provide. Another thing with Scorpio, this, shadow content of Scorpio, could also relate to where has your power been taken away from you? Where have you been, as I like to say, overpowered and overwhelmed? Because Scorpio at the low level can be reflective of the times where you may have gone through emotional trauma, emotional abuse, of where someone was overly possessive and you went through those kind of intense experiences. But at the high level, Scorpio is transformative, and it is empowerment. It really encourages you and calls you to empower yourself and be empowered. Under the darkness of this eclipse, your vulnerabilities might be reflected back to you. That kind of plays into this whole theme as well, that you're only human. And Scorpio really cuts to the bottom note. It's like the knife that just cuts through all that other stuff to what's true, to what's real, raw, and authentic. What's really at the deepest, most primal level of humanity. What's hidden, what's buried under the surface that needs bringing up for healing. And, you really have choices. You have options. Are you going to take the higher vibration route? Are you going to take the high road? Are you going to aim for that high vantage point? Aim for, really getting power, harnessing your power, and stepping into what you're afraid of, stepping into, what you're uncomfortable with, because Scorpio deals with the taboo, all that. But one of the other, sides to Scorpio is insecurity, emotional manipulation, and addiction. Now let's start off with emotional manipulation. Emotional manipulation, is when you are begging someone, pleading for someone, persuading them, even guilting them to get on your side and for them to give you what you want, when you're using them and when it's not sincere and true, as opposed to genuinely and legitimately needing the help, the care, and the love. And, this can happen with family or friends or anyone of you're trying to, maybe this could be, decided this is energy vampires and draining other people's energy and, mental, emotional, psychological energy with this. And so it's important to be aware of if you're doing that to other people or if others are doing that to you. So, the North Node in Taurus is really about nourishing yourself, of, having, self-respect and, self-care, and really being true to what you value, and what you find pleasurable, and surrounding yourself with things that bring you joy and peace and happiness. Well, joy and happiness mean the same thing. Stability, really. Since the North Node is in Taurus, and Taurus is opposite Scorpio. Another thing is addictions. This can be smoking, this can be drinking, but this can also be just any kind of small thing. Just like, continually going and washing your hands time after time after time, continually checking this, checking that, because you don't feel at peace that things are the way that you want them to be. Just a compulsive habit of you doing this over and over again, just doing something with intensity. Just, one after the other, and I have to, work at it and see it through. And when I hear certain people tell me, oh, you have to work at it, the vibration and the frequency of that, kind of turns me off. Not really, but, it's just, I don't resonate with that. And, that's another thing, because the moon in Scorpio is highly sensitive to what people are saying and, the vibrations that people are putting forth, and how people are, treating you. And Scorpio really looks at the darker emotions, darker emotional material, and, addictions and emotional manipulation. Maybe that is an indicator and could pose the question, do you love yourself as you should in a healthy way? And, it's about being compassionate. It's about accepting who you are, what you've done, and how you feel. And being aware of when you're giving into that addictive and compulsive behavior. Turning on your observer, the astrologer and psychotherapist Deborah Silverman talks all about that. And, really takes awareness and really checking in with your energy, making sure that you're grounded and moving slowly, and you're conscious of what kind of addictions that you're, getting into, and how is it affecting you? Is it holding you back? Is it harming you? Is this self-destructive behavior? How is this not serving you? All those things. This is a South Node eclipse. So the South Node in Scorpio deals with, it's K2 in Vedic astrology. South Node in Scorpio really is about all those themes I've talked about in the South Node. The highest level of the South Node is really releasing of karma, releasing of baggage from the past, burdens, emotional wounds, patterns that you revert back to because you've always known them and because they're so comfortable. Because, when you're born, you have a South Node and North Node, and then you are in childhood and you're very familiar with that emotional memory, that soul memory. And it's just encouraged until you decide, guess what, I can keep, hitting this dead end, or try to break down this wall, or try to bang on the door to get it open. But it's not worth doing. I need to choose another direction and go another direction and release this, which is really bringing me down and moving me astray from the path that I should be going down. I was listening to a podcast by Mel Robbins, actually watching the video of it, since on her YouTube channel she has the podcast episodes, and then also has the video versions, the behind the scenes videos that she puts on her YouTube channel, so that people have options. And in one of the episodes, in the second episode, which was about, getting, your power back, taking your power back when you feel insecure, something along those lines. And one of the things that she and, her daughter and several people were talking about in the show was about going down the right path of, you see of two directions, right and left. The right path obviously is the right way to go down. Something may, sometimes the right, as opposed to the left way, which is, the familiar way, that doesn't serve you. And, sometimes your ego doesn't know and cannot predict that going down this path is going to better you. It's about surrendering to your soul, surrendering to your, spirit, letting your intuition guide the way, not being afraid of change, of stepping into the unknown. A path may be uncomfortable. It's like if you're starting here and going on an island, across the sea. Oh, the water's cold and it's a long way, but I know that I have to cross this, remove this block or cross this barrier to get across to the other side. That's what has to happen. So, what do you need to let go of? And, new moons are internal times where it's like you have a fresh start, like you want to start fresh, start something new, initiate something, but it's not like, in, huge energy. It's very, where you're feeling super, enthusiastic and, all that. It's more of a quiet inner knowing of what is right for you at this time. So, Scorpio, the low level of secret keeping, people's filters on social media. Someone could be on the beach enjoying their day, but underneath all that, they could be feeling depressed because someone in their family is sick, of, a job that, they're not enjoying, and, whatever the reasoning may be. So it's not always on the surface. You can't just look on the surface and assume, at face value and just say, oh, it's the way it is. No. So go quiet, and, listen to music that emotionally soothes and moves you and touches your soul and uplifts you, at this time. Connect with the people in the world that bring you peace and, security, where you feel like you're in a safe sanctuary with them, that they really care for you and have the best interest, because Scorpio is one of those signs where it's kind of not really trusting other people, So Scorpio relationship is about, intensely loving, of being so loyal, of, going all in with, love and really intimacy. Into me, I see knowing someone at the deepest level and, knowing them for who they truly are and transforming with them. So a couple of aspects before I get into the little extra thing that I want to get into. We have the moon conjunct to Venus, and this is all about feeling nourished and peaceful with love. Of really seeing the beauty of relationships, of being in your house with your family, friends, partner, and, nourishing each other and seeing the beauty of that kind of connected, not isolated, true relationship, true marriage, even, especially if this solar eclipse is, affecting your 7th house of marriage, specifically, in all relationships. So there's this feeling of being very caring, of just wanting to be at people's beck and call, give to people, nourish people, help people, be there for them when they're going through a hard time. There's this nice, compassionate, sympathetic energy with this. And appreciation of beauty, such as nature, such as, food, and pleasure, and, a blanket that you sleep on, and, so many other things, beautiful music. And then the Sun conjunct Venus is a softening of the heart. That's the other thing going on. So the Sun is conjunct Venus. So the Sun in Scorpio, Venus is in Scorpio. Venus will be in Scorpio at the time of the solar eclipse, new moon, partial solar eclipse. So it's a softening of the heart with Sun conjunct Venus. It's a generosity of spirit. Because the Sun is generosity, it's light, it's warmth, it's radiance. Looks at your sparkles, that you're putting on and showing the world, the people, in your world. And also what I'm doing with making this video and putting out online. I'm giving you my Sun, energy. And other energies too, but so there's it deals with a generosity of spirit, sitting down and listening to someone, hearing what they have to say, sympathizing with it, understanding with it, holding space for that emotional or mental connection. Being compassionate and listening to somebody. Pride with love is another thing. Now, it's healthy pride, not the unhealthy, egoic, my way or the highway, it's all about me type of love, But a healthy sense of pride. It's a wonderful time to do things that you enjoy, do things that you find valuable, things that are of interest to you, that are important to you. And Sun conjunct Venus is really a bright light. But the downside of this is, that overindulgence of overdoing with the energy as being so good and so easy, and everything flows and everything's going great. And let's have a little bit more of this. Let's have more of this. No. Know where to draw the line in the sand of moderating yourself and having a healthy sense of self-discipline. And also, if you need to go into work, pick up the energy and, work. Don't just use this as an excuse to not do work if you need to do work or go into work. So don't neglect that in your life as well. And beauty and harmony also deal with the Sun conjunct Venus energy as well. In Scorpio, it's also important to remember the signs are really key. Now, see here, I am going to read to you these lyrics. So this is a song by Arie, and the song is called I Am Light, and I'm going to read to you. These are not all the lyrics, but there's some of the lyrics, some of them. I just want to read to you this, and I'll put the link for the song below in the description. I am not the things my family did. I am not the voices in my head. I am not the pieces of the brokenness inside. I am light. I am not the mistakes that I have made, or any of the things that cause me pain. I am not the pieces of the dream I left behind. I am light. And then it goes on with more I am light lines and lyrics. I am not the color of my eyes. I am not the skin on the outside. I am not my age. I am not my race. My soul inside is all light. I am divinely defined. I am the God on the inside. I am a star, a piece of it all. I am light. So use this as a really healing message for this solar eclipse, because you are light and you can bring the light in the dark. It's really all about, I challenge you and I invite you to find the light in the darkest places and be that light. Turn the darkness into light. Love yourself. Face all the wounds, all the trauma, the pain, all the shadowy aspects. Because, you can't just bypass and go, that everything is happy, joyous, and free, and go up in the head and just, escape all of that negativity. You need to face it. Walk through the storm to find the rainbow at the end of it. Live in it, feel it, and integrate it. Thank you for watching. Please like this, share this, subscribe to my channel, and hit the bell to get notified about my latest videos, my upcoming videos. Enjoy.